A new MetaQuest update has dropped to the public test channel, which means it's coming to headsets near you. If you already have your headset logged in the public test channel, that means you get updates early, you get to try stuff, help give feedback, and sometimes all the bugs that come with that. And this is where it gets even a little more confusing if you don't follow all of this. It's update 2.4. This is Horizon version 2.4 because they switched it from being MetaQuest V67 or V69. Now it's reset as Horizon OS. And it seems like overall this update is trying to prepare us for a possibly controllerless version of a Quest. Maybe what's coming now that the Connect dates have been announced, or enabling you to just keep your Quest on all the time, walk around whatever you do around the house and stay in VR. But basically the navigator that's gone back and forth on everybody's opinions of how it's working has got some features that may not excite all of you, but I know I've been waiting for one of them forever, and that's app organization. You can click and hold your trigger on any app, and some of you may have already gotten this in previous updates. The way they roll this stuff out is really spotty, but now you can hold that. There's a bunch of different options that you can choose from, including pinning your favorite apps, locking them, hiding them, removing them from your library, which, as I've tested hundreds of free games and brought you lists of all of them, that's something I really need because I can never find anything without just using the search function. But you can keep your top favorite apps up at the top instead of trying to resort them by recently used A to Z and all those things we've dealt with forever. You can even make custom folders and really get things organized nicely. Hopefully they don't update in a way again that wipes all those out, but finally making the navigator hopefully something more useful and that people are going to like more, because opinions have been all over the board on it. And if you have a headset crash, well, you might actually be able to recover it with app crash recovery. So now if a headset closes unexpectedly, which all Quest users probably know happens frequently, or the headset itself just bugs out, it can now automatically restore your previous sessions, reopen browser panels where you put them around you. At least that's the idea. That feature that we saw in the SDK a while back about more ways to move without controllers, controller-free home navigation is now available in your MetaQuest home or your Horizon home. But using hand gestures, you can now move around the home instead of being stuck in place. You can turn, you can step. Again, feeling like maybe they're doing all of this to prepare us for a controllerless or a controllerless optional world. But tap your fingers together, bring up that teleportation arc, rub your fingers, different motions doing different things. I spend almost zero time ever in the home, so that's not really something that affects me. But if you are someone who sets up screens around you and uses the home for other purposes, this could be useful. And to pair along with that controllerless home, you can turn on an expanded quick action menu where if you bring your hand forward and you tap it, you get a bunch of different options in front of you, from hiding your hands, recording, switching to pass through, bringing the navigator back up. And you can also walk out of your home, around your house, through your boundaries and your pass-through, and it's not going to constantly bring up those pop-ups. So you can essentially wear the headset and walk to the bathroom and use it there if you have no qualms of having a bunch of cameras strapped to your face while you go to the bathroom. Really seeming like they're trying to make this more of a keep your headset on all the time, not necessarily have to go find your controllers. There are some strange surprises that came along with this though, because of this new hand tracking in the home. Some people who already had hand tracking or body tracking enabled, it may have turned back off, and when you go to turn back on, it's going to take you through a tutorial all over again, trying to teach you these new things. The settings gear has seemed to move for some people. Now, when you try and get to the quick settings menu, there's just a gear icon up in the corner to take you to the full bevy of settings. And once again, probably not the hugest, craziest update for the Quest ever. And it seems like we're seeing them less often now that it's switched over to this Horizon and we've seen all these cutbacks in the Quest space. But it does feel like maybe something is coming. If you missed last week's news, Connect has been announced. No idea if we're going or not here, if we're going to be able to attend and cover that event and tell you about it out there. But if not, we always stream it for you, and sometimes thousands of you show up to watch the live stream with us, so keep an eye out for that at the end of September. In our coverage of VR, many times we have shown you apps that take the Quest to another level, show you the best possible graphics and what it can do. And we've talked about Gracia before. Through the use of Gaussian splatting, you can bring all kinds of different things into your actual mixed reality environment or a virtual environment with what feels and looks like photorealism often. We showed you that dancer that shows up in your living room, that guy, that sushi chef, and you can walk all around them. It did require big downloads, and now you can look at the moving volumetric captures just through streaming, which obviously you're going to need some decent internet to do that. But even if you're still downloading a look at these and you haven't checked these out yet, I'll leave some links below to go check this out. The app is free itself, and to see what this actually offers and can do on the Quest is pretty wild. I suggest take a little time, walk around it in your home. Very immersive. We are mere days at this point from Rec Room fully shutting down. That was one of the biggest social VR games at one time. It even went to consoles and mobile phones. With that gone, with Horizon World switching to only mobile, VR chat is becoming one of of the last standing social VR experiences. But with those two major ones closing, VR chat is continually breaking its record of the most users in it at one time, from 150,000 to 160,000 people all logged on at once. And with it being the very first ever social VR platform, that means a lot for it and its future now. It's amazing what happens when you have no competition. Although it is called VR chat, it was, even in its earliest days, very popular flat and still is about as popular flat as it is in VR. But VR chat putting out an official statement saying if you're looking for a new home, they'd love to have you there. It's been here for over a decade and they plan to be here for many more. They're not going anywhere. It's pretty wild that we can even talk about a decade now. I remember when this stuff was new in VR. Do you? Another section of VR that we've been talking about more lately that seems to be getting more life breathed into it now than ever is location-based VR. That's VR experiences that you have to go somewhere to experience. You can't experience them on home headsets. And now a Blade Runner immersive experience is coming. And surprisingly, Behavior Interactive, the makers of Dead by Daylight, are the ones making it. While we don't know the date it's releasing or what locations it's going to, it is being backed by Montreal-based VR Destination Infinity experiences, same ones with the Black Mirror experience, and it's supposed to premiere in North America sometime in 2027. We'll keep our eyes out for this one, as obviously something with that big of an IP is newsworthy and hopefully it delivers upon launch. RoboQuest was a big hit, a roguelike game, originally flat, and the studio Flat 2 VR brought it to VR. As the name basically states, it's exactly what they do.
Wow, who'd thunk it?
A game with a 4.86 rating currently on PSVR 2, very positive ratings on Steam, is now getting delayed a bit on Quest though. This was supposed to launch this week and is now being pushed out to July 23rd. A couple months we're gonna have to wait more to see it on Quest. But if that means it's gonna come out better, that is definitely crucial, as we get too many games too early that aren't ready. And the fact that it's done so well already on PSVR 2 and Steam means this could be another classic on the Quest. If you had this one wishlisted, hopefully a couple more months isn't too long to wait. We've got only a couple weeks left on the Quest 3 we are giving away here on the channel, and that big giveaway from Click Games we told you about also ended. We do not know the winners on that one yet, but if you entered in that one, make sure and check the email you had linked up to your Gleam, and if you entered in ours, we've got a couple weeks left if you still want to enter. It's been a tradition on the channel to give away as much VR as we can, spread it as far as we can, whether that's the tons of accessories we have here. When I meet people like you out in public and I get to give away stuff too, that's great, or if we do them here locally. I actually have a video I sent one of the guys I got to meet in, I think it was in Texas, Georgia. I don't know. This channel has me going all over the place thanks to all of you, but he actually unboxed some of the stuff we sent him recently. Some more stuff over to our supporter Eagle Doc Stu.
What a special day, getting a box from the great JayBratt.
And make sure if you want to enter that giveaway, I love it when you send back videos so I can show other people all of your joy and happiness opening them too. Here's some of that, and go hit up the links down below if you want to get entered. Subnautica 2 is out and breaking records. 2 million copies in 12 hours in early access even. And of course, that did not come with any sort of native VR support, but people have already gotten it working in VR. Of course, not what most people expect these days, even with VR mods that put you in the game with motion controls and everything. But even to be able to look around in Subnautica and still play it that way might be some of the best experiences you can get. I know I tried the original Subnautica way back in the day. It was more something that you could get into and look around and see either your creations, your base, environments, but it didn't feel like you could really play through the game. But now, thanks to Prey Dog's UEVR mod suite, you can technically get into Subnautica 2 in VR, whether that's playing with a gamepad and at least being able to look around with your VR headset, or trying some of the more experimental new stuff with motion controls. It's amazing what mod creators can do to make all this happen. I still wish we would get more of these games with native support though, because it's just so much easier. But Lunch in VR has kind of been the main one covering this so far that I've seen, so I'll leave a link to their video down below in case you have the game and you're interested in trying to get it to work. Just hope your PC's up to the task. If you somehow have a Quest 3, Quest 2, and you still rock the stock head strap, you may not know what I talk about when I review Halo straps, and I say they're the best thing ever for VR. But the idea is, instead of having the weight pulled and crammed into your cheekbones and your forehead, you have some sort of a crown built around the top of your head that puts the weight up high, kind of like a hard hat would, keeping it off your eyes and making you more comfortable for longer sessions. My favorite, of course, being the Bobo VR S3 Pro. Not only does it give you a battery that keeps your headset running, it's hot swappable, it's got a fan on it, but it's just the most comfortable design. Even from the original PSVR, I have always said Halo straps are by far and superior, obviously, to the elastic straps that stock ones come with, or of course the Elite style being the other one. And it looks like the Bigscreen has redesigned their aftermarket Halo strap with a pretty wild looking one here. One that allows you to move the headset out away from your eyes so you can see and do other things, and has a pretty small forehead pad, although that's not surprising because the Bigscreen 2 is so light and takes up so little space. At least in the picture where it's actually on with the headphones and everything, it doesn't doesn't look terrible. It looks like it really might have a small footprint on your face and feel light. I hope that the hinge is really strong where it keeps the actual VR headset up against your eyes, though, because some of these that pop out in the front like this, they just don't keep it solid enough feeling, in my opinion. It's $180 for the Halo mount, and they said the overwhelming demand means it's gonna be a while for people to get it. But what do you think when you look at this? I still haven't gotten to personally try a big screen headset in gaming, but I have gotten to hold one at conventions, and it's wild how small it is in your hands. It's doing the very opposite of the Pimax headset, which we're actually currently working on reviewing another version of for you, that goes the polar opposite direction and is big and chunky, but gives you just some of the best visuals and field of view in VR that currently exist. I've been playing around with their OLED screen lately in it, and it's pretty wild. Over in the Ray-Bans realm, this is actually some older news, but just something we hadn't gotten to talk about yet. If you buy the Meta Ray-Bans, you have to get them, and then you have to find a manufacturer, someone to make you prescription lenses that you pop out so that it can be your prescription. But now Meta has announced a couple new versions of the Ray-Bans that you can have your prescriptions built directly into. These new Ray-Ban Meta Blazers and Scribers are built, what they say, is specifically for people who need prescriptions, although even looking at them, the hinges that pop out the sides, the nose pads, I feel like anybody who's getting a set of Ray-Bans might want to consider these, because my biggest complaints with mine are always that these arms don't go out. I mean, you can kind of bend the glasses, but they're not meant to be. So every time I put them on, they get to right here, they're tight, and they feel just like they sharply glide along over my ears. Of course, those can be adjusted, but these are already the large ones that I have, and my head is just too big for most things at this point. The whole idea of Meta Ray-Bans must be doing something right, because it seems like every other company in the world is jumping on this new smart glasses trend. Samsung got a leak of their first smart glasses, including images and specs of them. We're seeing ones about the Google ones, and even tons of other smaller manufacturers, ones that make predominantly headphones and other things. Everyone is jumping on this. It made me curious. Are you considering these? Do you already have a set? Do you think that there's no point to having a set of smart glasses at all? And is it really possible that somehow they could actually replace smartphones one day? Let me know in the comments. For those of you who have been wanting to try out Microsoft Flight Simulator in VR but don't want to do the whole PC setup, but you somehow have a PSVR 2, well, it is out. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is available on PSVR 2, and it's a free update as long as you own the original game, and early reviews seem promising. With the automatic eye tracking, foveated rendering, the capabilities of the PS5, the early footage looks awesome. I haven't sprung for the $60 for Microsoft Flight Simulator myself, but I feel like I do really need to check this out. Although one thing, this is Flight Simulator. This is not some fun game where you go crash planes or play like Pilot Wings back in the day. It is a very serious game, simulator, not even a game. And if you're not wanting to spend hours flying planes for real, it's probably not going to be something that you're going to wish you'd spent $60 on. One of my friends, with our help, has been building one of the best home flight sim rigs to train for his actual pilot's license, and we've been playing around with the Pimax headsets on there, and it's wild how good it can look, how realistic it can look. So I am interested in trying to get it on the PSVR 2, do a little comparison side by side. So if that's something you'd really like to see in a full video, let me know down below. But once again, I want to say thank you so much to all of you out there. We are a week away from our 7-year anniversary, 7 years on YouTube, thanks to all of you. So thank you once again. I'll see you in another reality.